Welcome back. Welcome back to Grit Gym. Today we're gonna talk about how do we get so much done, because I got a good dose of hate in the last few days, and it's very interesting. But glad you're here, whether you're watching this later and I'm a time traveler coming at you, or you're watching this right here, right now. But please take the time, hit that share button, send this out to everybody. I think this is gonna be a good one, because I'm really gonna get deep with how I get so much done, because a lot of people want to come along and say and give kind of counter advice to what actually ends up happening. Say there's no way that person can get that much done. Yes, you can, if you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing and you're willing to be courageous and disciplined to those things. Okay, so there's a lot of hate been thrown around. And hate is a very good thing. You want that hate. If no one is saying you're doing too much, then you're not doing enough. I guarantee you. If no one is saying you work too hard, if no one is saying you go to the gym too much, if no one is saying you're too strong, Madison got a good dose of this the other day. Someone actually had the guts to do it in person. Usually when I get my haters, they're usually in handwritten letters, stuck in the mail, anonymously. Okay. Which is okay, whatever. Why would I sit there and smile at a hater? Because they are approving of what I am doing. They are jealous of what I've been able to do. They are jealous of something. And if I take their invitation to join them in their misery, why would I do that? Don't take when somebody's angry at you, they're inviting you into their misery. When someone's anxious around you, they're inviting you into their misery. If someone is giving you an invitation, do not take it. Haters are a very, very good thing. And what's going on right now is people are saying, oh, you must hire a social media agency. Believe me, I do not make enough money to hire a social media company to do this for us. And they're also saying that we're a franchise. Grit Gym is not a franchise. Maybe it will be someday. I have no idea. But Grit Gym is not a franchise. No one has really come along and done what Chipotle did for the fast food industry yet. McDonald's came along and basically CrossFit did what McDonald's did for the restaurant industry. Chipotle came along and made fast food that is somewhat helpful. Maybe Grit Gym is the next one on that list. I don't know. But how do you get a lot done? How do you get the most out of your day? How do you get so much done? Okay, because it's not like we just have 100 people behind the scenes here pumping out content and doing all the training and doing all this other stuff. Yeah, I got a great team. I got an awesome team. They're a bunch of badasses. But we're all we're all in this together. But I think I got a message on here real quick from somebody. Maybe they're chiming in about this show. Yeah, signed in too late, man. Anyway, so how do I get it all done? All right. For one, you got to take responsibility for your day first thing. Number one thing that you have to do with getting a lot of shit done is take as much responsibility for those hours that you have as possible. Okay? Everybody has that. Like when people say, I work long hours. It's like, no, you don't. You work the same 60 minutes that I work. You don't work any longer. I have really long days. There's 24 hours in the day, dude. There's no such thing as a long day. Okay? Or I just don't have the time. You have the time that you make. You have the time that you make for the things that are in front of you. So there's a few strategies that go on here. For one, this is how I do it. I'm just going to show you how I do it, and I'm going to take you through. So you've got to make clear on what you are, okay? Because I think what people are really doing when they say, I don't have time, I can't do this, how do you get so much done? It's because they never actually organize it out and take a hard look at it. Because it's just, like in your head, it seems impossible. In your head, you're sitting there going, you're going, how am I going to get this all done? How am I going to get this all done? How am I going to get this all done? When really, you haven't even thought about what you have to get done. So you got to step back a little bit and you got to make lists. So one of the first questions I ever ask people when we start to do this kind of talk around how do you get so much done is like, have you made a list yet? Have you made lists yet? And like, what are you talking about? Like, well, if you haven't made a list, then how do you know what you need to do? How do you make sense of this mess that's going on in your brain? Because how do I get this all done? How do I get this all done? How do you make sense of the mess? The mess is, I've got, maybe you got kids, maybe you got a business, maybe like, for instance, I'm going to stop wasting time on you here and just show you how I do it. This is how I do it. So I take a piece of paper, and I'm just going to make a circle, right? The circle is me and all the things that I have going on in my life. I hope you guys can see that. So I got the circle, right? So in this circle, I've got myself. I got exercise. You know, I'm going to exercise. I train people. I got a business to run. I do this social media thing. I got a relationship that I got to keep up on, that I have to keep up on. Okay, I got a relationship. I have my spiritual side. A lot of you guys don't know this, but I'm a deeply spiritual person. Okay, I enjoy the depth that you can go to with your spiritual side. So you're spiritual. All right. What else do I got? I do a lot of self-development. I talk about a lot of self-development. You know, I'm doing 1 hour of self-development every day. I've done this for the last 10 years consistently. Before that, it was just so much fun that I could just pound it out and put more information in my head. But, all right, so I got spiritual, I got myself, I got exercise, I got to eat. So I've got this nutrition thing going on because it can't be a hypocrite, right? I've got to sleep and get that recovery. All right, so those are a few things, okay? So I've got this list going on right now. These are basically all the big priorities, the big things in my day. So how am I going to, now I got to sit down and I got to look at them. And I'm like, how am I going to get all this done? Okay, how am I going to get all this done? And you know, like some of you might say kids. I don't have kids yet. So kids are going to go in there too. But for one, I work 16 hours per day, 5 days per week. Okay, that's my number one thing. Okay, number one, I work 16 hours per day, 5 days a week. You guys are like, oh man, that's crazy. There's no way you don't do that. Yeah, I do. I start at 5:45 in the morning, and I won't finish until 9 o'clock tonight. I do I don't know how many hours that is. I should have added it up probably, but that's what I do. I go from 5:45 to 9 p.m. On 2 days a week, I do 10 hours a day. Okay, so Saturday and Sunday, I do 10 hours a day. 10 hours a day each of those days. Ask Rachel. I make lists. I have lists going all the time, constant lists, okay? And then I prioritize those lists. I have to have priorities. I have to have priorities. I have to have targets. Number 5, I got tons of guts. Like at this point, I don't think I really need to defend that. It sounds kind of funny to say that, but I do. I'm a very courageous person, okay? A lot of the shit that super scares me, like being on these videos, writing all this stuff, doing all this mental work, like it's scary. It's challenging all the deep inner workings of your mind. It's challenging your beliefs. It's challenging how you see you. Okay, this takes a lot of guts. I've got a ton of guts. I'm super, super curious, and it takes a ton of courage to be curious. So that's number 5. Okay, number 6 is I use this planner. I use this planner every day. I write down my goals first thing in the morning, and I write down my targets first thing. That's upside down. I write down my goals first thing in the morning, and then I write down my targets, and then I write out my entire day with these lists. I prioritize them out. I have to do that. When am I going to do each thing in this list, okay? And then, so I make these lists, and I put all this time into it, and then I work my absolute ass off. One of the things that I did very poorly early in my business career, early in my exercise career, is that I was just busy being busy. I wasn't busy, well, that came out funny. I wasn't busy being productive. You have to be busy being productive. You have to put as much focus on productivity as you possibly can. Results are what matter. What you push out is what actually ends up mattering. What you get done is what matters. Nobody talks about that thing that got close to being done that never was. Doesn't matter. You have to push productivity as hard as you possibly can. You have to work your ass off on those 6 things. That was number 7. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get my sleep in? How am I going to get time for myself? How am I going to get exercise? How am I going to train? Or when am I going to train? When am I going to work on my business? When am I going to do the social media stuff? Well, I'm doing the social media stuff right now. When am I going to have a relationship? How am I going to have a relationship when I'm working 16 hours per day? Spiritual, self-development, nutrition. When am I even going to find time to eat? How am I going to do this? You've got to do this same thing. You can do this same thing. I'm just showing mine as an example. So if I'm going to take sleep, well, that's a pretty simple one because I've got that written in right here. At the bottom of this, I'm going to say, when am I going to go to sleep? I already know when I'm going to wake up. When am I going to go to sleep? All right, so you've got that figured out. All right, exercise. When are you going to exercise? How long are you going to exercise? You know, like I give myself an hour to exercise. I give myself from 8:30 to 9:30 every morning. 8:30 to 9:30, I'm in the gym. That's just what happens. Okay, from 7:30 to 8:30, I'm studying. Okay, before that, I'm writing. Okay, so that's the other thing. I got a book. I got a book on top of all this. I got a book that I'm writing, okay? Cool thing. Just finished it. Just finished it yesterday. Final rewrite is completely done. So now it's sent off to kind of like an editing process. Going to be done soon. I'm super psyched about the book being done. But Cost of Courage, I don't know how long it's going to take to actually go through the editing process, but Cost of Courage, and it's done. So when am I going to time for the book? I got 1 hour at 7:30 or 6:30 every morning, because my mind is most fresh first thing in the morning. So 6:30 in the morning, I'm doing my book. At 7:30 in the morning, I'm hitting my self-development. At 8:30 in the morning, I'm hitting exercise. At 9:30 in the morning, I'm gonna eat. Right? Because you got to have nutrients. You got to give your body that food. Okay. I did the self-development there. All right. So those are all pretty clear. Self-development, you just got to get your ass in a chair and start reading, start doing your videos, start training somehow. Nutrition, you got to make your food. Sleep, you got to be disciplined to go to bed at a certain time. Exercise, you just got to go. Get yourself out the door as fast as you possibly can and get yourself into that workout as soon as you can. Because the more time that you give yourself, same thing with the book, you got to sit down and hit those keys as soon as you possibly can, because the more time you give yourself, the more rattling goes on, the more fears start stirring you up, the more it's like, oh my God, I can't do this. How am I going to do this? What's going on? Oh my God, I'm going to find something else to try to do. I've got to go pick up kids that I don't have, for me. All right. That's how irrational your fears get when you're scared of doing something like this. So when am I going to find time to train people? Well, I have a certain amount of time that I got to fit in to train people. I'm super glad that we have the Staff of Grit Gym that allows me to do a lot more of this kind of stuff. Otherwise, I would just be so burnt out. It's insane. But train. This stuff that I'm doing right now fulfills me on a level I cannot explain to you. Okay? Even though it's scary, it fulfills me on a level that I cannot explain to you, because I'm putting out a message that I know that people are going to get something out of. Okay? Blowing up this message is the next thing. Okay, how do we affect billions of people in a positive way? That's the big one. When do I find time to run the business? Okay, so now it's 9:30, eating breakfast with Rachel. One of the biggest priorities of my day is how else am I ever going to spend time with her? When a few years ago, when it was just me and I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to train, to be at the gym by 5, to train people at 5:30, and then leave there at, I don't know, I left there around 10 or 11, came back at 1 and trained till 9. Like it was not possible for me to get all of this other stuff in. So the staff is a big deal. But when are you going to get in time to do your business or your job? This is important. Income is extremely important. Without income, you're not going to be able to live the life that you want to live. Okay? And everything in this little podcast, webinar, whatever you want to call these things, is about being able to inspire the experience that you want to live. Income is a big portion of that, because there's 4 big resources in life: health, wealth, relationships, time. Health is the most important, but wealth is still up there. Relationships and time might trump health, or might trump wealth, but wealth is still an important thing. If you don't have money to be generous with, then you've got to get to where you're working 16 hours per day and you don't get to take Sundays off. Because I can't give back to the world without a certain amount of money to push that message out, right? Social media, when am I going to find time to do that? So this is another spot where we have, like, I couldn't probably do all the posts that we do on, like, for Instagram and stuff like that, because we have a really good staff. Like, being a one-man show is silly. I've been in business long enough now, seen a lot of these businesses burn. I burn out, almost lost everything. I've seen other people burn out almost and lose everything. Being a one-man show, trying to stay small, is stupid. Like, I would really I don't know how we're going to do this yet, because we don't actually have the income to actually drive and pay people what they're worth. But maybe if people are willing to come in and drive this thing up to what it could be, then we'll be even better off. But social media, when am I going to find time to do that? I'm doing that right now, right? So so one thing with social media that I'm really trying to do is just bring it into being a part of my life. Just being a part of my life. That's why I take videos when I'm at the gym. That's why I take videos when I'm walking into the gym to train myself. So relationship, when am I going to find time to do that? Meditation, when am I going to find time to do that? I actually do, or spiritual side. Spiritual side, I do that first thing in the morning. Absolutely, right after I write down my goals and I write down my targets and I write down my day, start the timer, go right into it. I don't even set any brown noise anymore. I just go right into it. But how are you going to do this? Do you notice how I only have like usually you're going to have 1, 2, 3 big priorities that you got to get done for each one of these every day. Okay, usually. However, when you start actually making these lists and then you start writing out your 1, 2, 3 priority for each one of these, you're going to find that there's not 3. You just gave yourself the option of 3. Usually what you're going to find is that there's only 1. There's only 1 for each one of these. That you're just, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And all of them come down to me being disciplined to my time. Okay? Disciplined to the plan that I set out for the day. They didn't, so discipline and courage got all of these done. I needed it even because my OCD was going crazy. I didn't actually need to have 3 priorities here. I needed 1 priority, because I bet you already know that what to do for each one of these. I bet you already do. You probably know what to do for your exercise today, because you're coming into Grit Gym. Your workout's already written out for you. You know what you're going to do. Okay? You know if you're writing a book, well then you are the writer. You know what you're going to write. Okay? If sleep, you know what you need to do. You need to go to sleep. Okay? Nutrition, you know what you need to do. I guarantee you. I do nutritional counseling with people all the time. Everybody knows how to eat already. You already know that a Snickers bar is not as good as an apple. So eat the apple. You already know. You know that sugar isn't going to kill you. You know it's not poison. You know that you probably need a little bit less than what you think you need. No big deal. All right? So write this out. Just make a big circle. Put you right at the top. And then start writing out, what do you do on a daily basis? Who are you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with your time? It's extremely important. I need to start. That's a really good point, Joanne. I need to start setting deadlines to start. Too often I write down my goals for the day, but I don't schedule them, and something always gets dropped because I dink around. Yeah, that's what ends up happening to me too. And I'm not going to say that there's not some lag time in between stuff, but setting a deadline, that's another thing that I do. I have one of these nifty little, and I don't use my phone for a reason. I use one of these because if you get on your phone, have you ever noticed that like once you get on your phone, you just kind of stay on your phone? How your phone kind of like sucks you down in, and Facebook kind of pulls you in, and all of a sudden you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it's been 15 minutes, and you were supposed to be writing your book 15 minutes ago. Okay? Or supposed to be doing whatever else it was, supposed to be exercising, supposed to be doing something. So I set these so I don't even have to look at my book. So it's set for 20 minutes right now. 20 minutes is kind of, well, I'm screwing around with 20 minutes right now, so 15. I think 20 minutes works a little bit better for me. Set one of these. This is your deadline. You're gonna pick whatever one of your top priorities is here. Top priority for the day for exercise or for relationship or whatever it is. You're going to pick it, you're going to set your timer for 20 minutes, and you're going to get as much, you're going to try to cram down, probably not for your relationship, is it probably a place where you want to be super efficient. You want to be really inefficient with your relationship. But let's say something with your business or your job, or something that the less time that you could push into that, the more you could get done in less time, the better. So take that timer, set that timer, and cram as much as you possibly can into that 20-minute time frame. Time isn't that complicated. The faster you go, the further you go. Then you created time. You actually expanded time. You were a time traveler. I use that at the beginning of this because I always feel like I'm a time traveler when I'm doing my writing. Stephen King said that in one of his books, in his On Writing book. He said something about he felt like a time traveler. And I started thinking about it when I was doing these videos, and people would ask me about the video while they were watching it later. Because right now it's 12:51 on Monday, and you might not, certain people won't watch this until Wednesday at 4:45. I don't know. And so I always feel like a time traveler. I'm going into the future. Or they're just watching the past, right? Which one is it? But set one of these things. Give yourself a timer. Give yourself a deadline. You also have deadlines because you write these things down. You also have targets. Where is it at the beginning? So you have goals. Goals are great. Goals are great, but it's really easy to get offset by how far they are away. It's like, how could I ever accomplish billions of people in a positive way? How could I ever accomplish being able to affect billions of people in a positive way? This would be very difficult, right? Well, if I set targets that I can hit on a daily basis, then it becomes a stair. It becomes one more stair step, one more step that I can get to the next, to get to the next, to get to the next. But how do I get so much done? How do I, like me personally, what is 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock? What is that? That's 3 and then 12, so that's 15. So maybe I'm a big liar, but I work a ton of hours. Is what I'm trying to say. I work a ton of hours. I don't do the whole Sunday off thing. Like if you're looking at the like people once in a while say you shouldn't work on a Sunday because of the Sabbath, and I'm like, hold up. Just because God took the day off doesn't mean that you get the day off. And they look at me like I'm crazy, and I go, God created everything. According to you, according to the Christian community, God created everything in 6 days and then said, you know what, I'm going to take one day off. He did not. You didn't create the heavens and the earth and all the things combined. You only created what you did this week. So you don't get to take Sunday off unless you have accomplished every single one of the goals that you have in your life. And even then, I think that you should probably step up because you probably have more potential that you didn't even know about. Aaron says, I get that about time. I find myself completely exhausted after a while, though. Finding I need to schedule that downtime to help me reset. I do like downtime. I'll set the timer for like 1 minute. And I just sit back and do like a quick meditation. I don't like to do the whole like just sit there and ponder, because then you just sit there and ponder. I want to take as much focus into that as possible. Sometimes I'll even up to 5 minutes in between tasks so I can wrap my head around the next task. Otherwise, I'll spend 2 hours trying to do that task instead of the half hour that it should have taken. The reset button, I think, is huge. I think just refocusing, but sometimes it's not very easy. It's super difficult, right? So if you just set a timer between a task, so you have you've listed out your day, right? And you're like, you're just struggling to get through this 1 hour spot that you have to sit down and write, or to do, for whatever reason, you have an obstacle that day and you don't know how to overcome it. Yeah, that's exactly what you find yourself doing. Yeah, I just find if you take too long of one, it bogs you down. It makes it almost like gives power to the obstacle. If you take too long, if you take 20 minutes, you go sip on a cup of coffee for 20 minutes, well, you just lost your mojo, or whatever you want to call it. But if you sit there and you say, hey, no, I'm going to step up, I'm going to go get this thing. You take one step back to kind of look at it, close your eyes, meditate out, try to go trance. Bam! You come back and you hit it like a ton of bricks. Hit it like a lightning bolt. That probably better. So you come back and you hit it like a lightning bolt, and all of a sudden now you're able to expand the time that you did have with that thing and do it even better than you were. But that's how I do it. I list out what I am. You know, I have myself, I have sleep, I have nutrition. Those are two things, and exercise and self-development that I have to do every day. Okay? Otherwise, I'm a hypocrite. What is health? Health is exercise, mindset, nutrition, recovery. If you don't have a strong foundation of each of those, then you're messing up. I want to spend time in my spiritual self. I'm a better person. I'm better at all things when I am digging into the spiritual side of me. I want to have a relationship. If you dig back on all my crappy relationships, I don't think I was probably very good at them. I know I've talked about them on the show a little bit before, but you're going to hear about them when you read The Cost of Courage. Is if you have really bad relationships, you become an expert on relationships. But an easy thing to do is to look at the workaholic. Ask their kids how much they got to experience their mom and dad. You know, ask their spouse what they might enjoy all the money that they got, but if they were really successful, but how much did they enjoy their time with them? They didn't get to. Yeah. So relationships are an extremely important part. How are you nurturing your relationship? You know, I do the social media thing. I like social media. I think social media is great. I think social media is one of the coolest inventions in the last 20 30, maybe even 50 years. I need to change the scale of every single thing that we possibly do. I can talk to someone in China like that. The internet is a pretty amazing thing, so I want to be a part of it. I want my message to get out to billions of people. I think this is the avenue to do it. I have a business. I have to run that business. I have people that depend on the business. I have people that depend on the business for income, and I have people that depend on that business to come in and get their health in order, right? So it's an exchange of value, like people that come into Grit Gym get way more value than they do for paying for it, or they wouldn't pay for it. That's just how business goes, or it should go anyway. I have to find time to train other people. I have to find time to exercise. I have time to write my book. How do I do that? I have to prioritize each one of those things. What's the 3 big things that I've got to get done each day on each one of these? Most of these, it's only one. Like sleep, I got to be disciplined to get to sleep. Nutrition, you got to be disciplined to eat what you already know is good for you. Self-development, I have to have the courage to get into that book. Spiritual side, I have to sit there and say, all right, back it off, get into this. It's time. Relationships, I have to make time for that relationship. I have to create time for that relationship. And one of the ways I do that is by getting so much done on the other sides and then focusing completely on this when I am in this. Okay, social media, I got to get efficient with that somehow. There's ways to automate this stuff, okay? But I have to find ways to get into this stuff and build this out. So part of that is you have to you want other people on your team. You want other people on your team. I want a lot of people on my team. Can't pay them enough right now to have a huge team, but we're going to get there. Business, when am I going to find time for that? That is where I will have some priorities. I'm going to have multiple priorities because within the business, I'm a leader, I'm a coach, I'm a salesman. I'm all these things within the business. So I end up becoming a lot of things. So I have to make priorities out of that. When I'm training other people, I'm a leader. I'm a coach. I'm doing a lot of different things. I have an expertise around this that I have to teach. I'm a teacher. Okay. When I'm exercising, I got to be completely focused on what I need to do. Okay. When I'm writing my book, I just need to write. I just need to write hard. But anyway, that's how I get all this stuff done. I don't know how you guys are going to find ways to strategize how you get it done, but you're never going to get away from an accumulation of hours, accumulation of time. And I don't think anybody should be taking Sundays off. I think that's a ridiculous idea that you're going to take Sunday off, especially if you're using the Christianity example that I gave before, or the excuse of Christianity before. You have to make lists. You have to make priorities, okay? Otherwise, you're just dizzying yourself with the thoughts in your head. If you get it out on paper, all of a sudden everything becomes very manageable. It becomes attainable. It becomes very clear on a piece of paper, okay? You have to have tons and tons of guts. Okay, of progress and all of this stuff, like everything that I've ever come across, is about courage. It is about facing a fear. It is not about trying to avoid it or trying to come up with some strategy. There are plenty of stupid people out in the world that are super, super successful at whatever they've set out to do. They had to have guts or just ignorance to be able to do it. But I think it was guts. I think it was just having the courage to be able to do that. I would say this is a huge asset that you're probably not taking advantage of, is the One Life Planner. It's a huge asset to have something in a packed, super packed way that every day you could do this on a legal pad, but this is a way that it's bam, 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 right there in front of your face. You want to do this. You have to do this if you want to be everything that you want in your life. Okay? We also, I'm kind of saying that we sell these at Grit Gym so you can get it there, but I'm not saying that to try to get you to buy it. I'm trying to get you to buy in to what this is. Okay, I'm trying to get you to buy into what this is because it's effective. Okay, and then you got to work your absolute ass off. Okay, a lot of people are they're so content. I kind of understand content. I kind of do, and then I don't. You got to work your butt off. That's just how it goes. You're not going to get away from working hard. Okay, working smart is extremely important, but it gets his ass kicked by working hard every time. But anyway, thanks for being here as always, guys. Tomorrow, what do we have tomorrow? I don't even remember. We were supposed to have an interview today, but the guy came on a little too late, apparently. He wrote me a couple messages. But anyway, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. If you can, please take the time, share this out. Anybody that you know that is struggling with time right now, that is they're feeling overwhelmed, they don't know what to do, they don't know a strategy for how to deal with all the stuff that they have going on in their life, send them this video. Maybe it'll help them. And if it doesn't help them, what are you out? You're not out anything, but send this video to them. Maybe it'll help them. I hope it will. They can always, any of you can always message me directly. It's just adam@gritgym.com. And go online and buy this. Go online and buy this. gritgym.com/store. And there's one of these in there, and you can buy it. And it's extremely effective. It's going to help you get a lot done. Anyway, thank you for being here, guys. I really appreciate it.